Hello guys, this is Darkomiko, and in this video I'll talk about how Archero calculates the damage you receive. So this will be a simple explanation video. Its purpose is to prepare you guys for my rune tier list video. So as everybody must already know, dodge rate is multiplicative. So 3 pieces of 7% dodge rate with a dodge master skill of 20% doesn't give you 41% dodge rate. It is instead 1 minus 0.8 times 0.93 cubed, and that is 35.65% dodge rate. And this is easily proven when you go full dodge rate. 3 times 7, 2 serpent ring plus dexterity plus 20% dodge rate from Dodge Master, 30% from Agility, 21% from Ancient Legendary Agile Locket, and 10% from Magic, and that is 102%. And you still get hit. So everybody thought that it would be the same for damage reduction. It was natural to assume that way, but no. And we didn't have an obvious way to prove it until Talent Rework update rolled out. And I'll explain why. So the damage reduction formula might shock most people. I was also surprised when I first heard it on the Archero Discord channel, and I will explain why people thought it was a different formula, and actually it didn't matter which formula people used before the talent rework update. But even the formula on the Archero Discord channel is wrong, and I'll also explain it why in this video. So Locket works differently from what people think. Then the damage received formula. It is the damage you receive is the damage base damage minus sum of the flat reduction times 1 minus sum of the plus projectile slash collision percentage reduction, and this is what it is different from the Discord channel formula. So this number is multiplied by 1 plus Locket projectile slash collision percentage reduction. So then you multiply everything by 1 minus sum of the plus front slash back percentage reduction. Multiply it again by 1 minus sum of plus trap percentage reduction. Multiply again by 1 minus sum of static percentage reduction, and also multiply again by 1 minus sum of percentage all damage reduction. So this formula doesn't only have multiplication as the dodge rate is. Dodge rate is only multiplication, but this it has sums. So the damage reduction of the same name gets summed up, and damage reduction of different name get multiplied together. So but the Locket one doesn't have the same name, and I will show it to you. And it also doesn't work the same way as people in the as people think it does. So this is only big after the talents rework, and I'll explain why. So why after talents rework? This is like story time. Don't worry, I will prove this formula later. But first of all, I want to tell you guys a story. So there are two reasons why there was no way to differentiate between all multiplicative formula and the real formula before the talents rework update. So the first reason is that the projectile collision damage reduction lockets were bugged, and instead of decreasing damage received, it amplified it. This bug was fixed in the talents rework update. The second reason is that there were no big enough flat damage reduction so that the difference was detectable. We only had iron bulwark, and it was trash. So the main builds we had before talents rework was that had the same damage reduction category was 2 ball rings, golden chest plate plus enlightenment, or 4 rings 15% projectile resistance, actually plus 15% projectile resistance, plus 2 ball rings plus phantom cloak plus enlightenment book, or Rolla 20% collision damage plus 2 ball rings plus void robe plus enlightenment book. So first option, uh, 2 ball rings plus golden chest plate plus book. So the real reduction is 1 minus 0.75, because 0.75 is 1 minus 25, 0.25. That is 2 ball rings plus golden chest plate, because they have the same name. They add up together. And book has 5% projectile and 5% collision. So it is not the same as 5% all damage reduction. So it gets multiplied. And that is 28.75%. And what people thought is 1 minus 0.9 squared times 0.95 squared. And that is 26.8 or 9%. And that's the difference of 1.85. The second option has a difference of 2.8%, and the third option has a difference of 3.4%. So these differences were big enough to notice, but they were also small enough that people could call them rounding system from the game, especially the first build. Because the main problem is that nobody used those builds to test, because those are crappy builds except for maybe the first one for testing purposes. So nobody was testing 4 rings 15% damage reduction, and nobody was testing like void roll plus rollers. So it was kind of all over the place. And even though they were testing, 3% may fly under the radar for them, and they were calling it rounding problems. I myself didn't test it, I just believed it, but now in this video I will test it for you guys. So the main build people used to test the formula was just 2 ball rings plus phantom or void roll. So the real reduction was 1 minus 0.8 times 0.9, and that is 28%. What people thought it was 1 minus 0.9 cubed, and that is 27.1%. That is less than 1% difference. And this difference is just too small to detect and was considered a rounding error by the community. And it actually didn't matter which formula you used. The difference between the formula, the calculated value and the real value for the meta equipment was near 0%. And but after the talent rework, lockets are fixed, and now we have better iron bulwark and gained block. So now we have flat damage reduction, so that the difference gets bigger, and more ways to stack the same type of damage reduction. So now it is easier to distinguish the difference between these two formulas. And I will show you now the proof that the real formula is correct, the formula that I presented to you. So examples. I cannot unequip my runes, so we will not have the real damage value, but it is not a problem. It actually adds more evidence to back up the real formula. So my base defensive stats: Iron Bulwark level 16 plus 920 collision resistance. Block level 15, static damage reduction of plus 100 and 1300. Projectile resistance from rune 101. Damage resistance from rune, like all damage resistance, it is 3.4%. So I will only use the Scarecrow's damage from chapter 14, so that we can be sure that it is the same base damage. So in this clip, moving projectile damage 2511. What does moving projectile damage means? So it is projectile damage that I take when I'm moving. So the block is not applied. And moving collision damage 3024, and static projectile damage 1255. So using the formula to calculate the base damage so that we can use it to predict and compare the received damage from different situations. So 2511 equals to base damage 1 minus 101 times 1 minus 0.034. That is the same for old equation and the new equation. So the base damage one is 2,700. So the base damage one is 2,700, and uh, with the block it is 1,255, and the base damage 2 is also 2,700. That's something. So this difference is actually 0.0076%. So it is pretty accurate. This error is pretty low. So, but this is not enough to prove the whole formula because we won't know the real damage, and we didn't test all the parts, like most of the parts that is important in the formula. We only tested one part, that is the all damage, and we didn't test if it is if the same name reduction adds up together or multiplies together, uh, and also we didn't test the lockets. So this is not enough to prove my formula. And then uh, let's calculate the collision. So the collision also follows the same way. So the base damage 3 is the collision damage. It is 4,050. Now we need to show you the real difference between the two formulas, the old one and the new one. And in this second clip, I'm using Foreign with plus 15% projectile resistance, 2 ball rings, each plus 10% damage reduction, Phantom Cloak plus 10% projectile resistance, Bulletproof 22% projectile resistance when under 20 HP, not to be confused with plus 22% projectile resistance when under 20% HP. There is a difference and I'll explain later. And Book plus 5% collision and plus 5% projectile resistance. So with the new formula, my total percentage projectile resistance is 1 minus 1 minus 0.2 minus 0.034 times 1 minus 0.3 equals to 46.38% when above 20% HP. When below 20% HP, it is 1 minus 0.2 minus 0.034 multiplied by 1 minus 0.3 times 1.22, not minus 0.22. This is the main difference. So when the locket is activated, you gain 22% projectile resistance, exactly as it is represented here. So instead of having only 30% projectile resistance, it is now 22% more of 30% projectile resistance, and that is 51.4 percentage percent when below 20% HP. And my percent collision resistance is this. So it is 27.23%. Now, if we use the old formula, my total percentage projectile resistance is 43% when above 20% HP and 56.6% when below 20% HP. And my collision resistance is 25.666 percentage. So let's try it out. Moving projectile damage above 20% HP is 1,394, and static projectile damage above 20% HP is 697. Then moving projectile damage below 20% HP is 1,263. Static projectile damage below 20% HP is 631. Moving collision damage is 1,278, and static collision damage 1,332. So with the new formula results, above 20% HP, 1,394 equals to damage 1 minus 101 times 1 minus 0.4638. That's my damage resistance with the new formula when above 30% HP. And that gives me a calculated base damage that I should receive of 2,700. 0.7377. So that is pretty consistent, because if I calculate the same way with the same percentage reduction with static damage that I receive when above 20% HP, it also results in 2700. When below 20% HP, when static or moving, it also is 2700 and 2701. And 1 out of 2700 is less than 0.01%. So it is pretty accurate. And also it applies to the collision resistance. As you can see here, the base damage calculated for the collision damage is 4050 for both cases, moving or static. So everything is consistent with the results calculated previously, and they are also consistent with each other. Now you might think, oh, this is suspect. This is kind of sus. Only one. There is 2701. So maybe your equation is wrong. But look at what the old formula results. So 1394 equals to damage 7 minus 101 times 1 minus 0.43, and that is 0.4313 is the damage reduction with the old formula when above 20% HP, and that gives me original damage received of 2552. That's very, very far away from 2700. That is almost 150 away. And then with the block, it is also 70 damage away. And then when you calculate when below 20% HP, moving or not moving, it is also totally inconsistent. It is 2948 and 2823. So all the values we calculate are totally different with the original value, and also they are different from each other, and that is wrong. So the equation for the old formula is wrong. So this is totally inconsistent results. No results match 2700, and no results are the same. And 2900 to 2500, that is insane difference. It is 400 difference. So no rounding excuse, okay? One thing that people might think lockets do is the reduction, it gets added up with the rest of the reduction, or it multiplies with the rest of the reductions, but that is not what happens. Neither way happens. So let's calculate the other ways. If lockets damage, collision or projectile resistance get added up, so first let's calculate what it happens if they add up. So 1 minus 0.034 minus 0.2 times 1 minus 0.3 minus 0.22. That equals to 63% damage reduction, projectile damage reduction when below 20% HP. So below 20% HP, projectile damage is 1263 and 601 when moving and not moving. So there we go. The damage 1 calculated is 3500 and the damage 2 calculated is 3100. They are inconsistent. This result is inconsistent. So if it is not added up, how about multiplied? So 1 minus 0.032 34 minus 0.2 times 1 minus 0.3 times 1 minus 0.22, and that equals to 58% projectile resistance. And if we calculate damage 3 and damage 4, they are also different. So it is inconsistent. This is so it is not added up together. it is not multiplied together, it actually is increases the, let's see here, it actually increases your projectile resistance by 22%. It doesn't add 22% to your projectile resistance, so it is different. So 0.3 times 1.22, that's how it is. And with my formula, you get consistent results, 2700 through the board. So one thing to notice is that the real reduction Locket gives is 51%. That is less than both of these two ways of calculating, both adding up and both multiplying. So the damage reduction Locket gives are actually extremely bad. And maybe I will make a video explaining the details in the Locket's tier list, but not now. So why is extremely bad? So the reason for why Lockets were increasing the damage you receive instead of reducing before the talents update, the reason for why this bug existed is most probably because the coding team forgot the 1 in the 1 plus Locket percent part of the equation. So as you can see, this part of the equation here, where is it? Here, damage received formula. So as you can see, the second bracelet, the second part is 1 minus sum of plus projectile slash collision percent reduction times 1 plus Locket projectile slash collision percentage reduction. So they forgot that they forgot that 1. So instead of multiplying 0.3 here with a new formula, instead of multiplying 1 minus 0.3 times 1.22, it was 1 minus 0.3 times 0.22, and that reduces your projectile resistance. So instead of having higher than 30% projectile resistance, it is about 1/5 of your projectile resistance. So it reduces your projectile resistance, so you actually receive more damage when Locket is activated. So that I think that was why the bug, how the bug was coded. So I think they forgot the 1 in the Locket percentage, 1 plus Locket percentage part of the equation. So, but that's just my guess, but because I didn't test out the numbers exactly. And the way I calculate for projectile resistance and all damage resistance applies to other kinds of resistances too. But since I don't have multiple front slash back resistance to add them up together, just to test them out to be true, I won't be able to show them to you. But the same way it is calculated for projectile resistance is also calculated for front slash back resistances. So I calculated it for you, the projectile resistance adding up together, the all damage resistance also adding up together. So front resistance will also add up together, but if you have an bright rope and 2 ball rings, they will multiply together the same way you have phantom cloak and 2 ball rings. And if you have foreign with 50% projectile resistance and 2 ball rings and also a bright rope, all of them will be multiplied together. Only the ball rings will add up together and then multiply. So that's it. That's the formula for damage reduction. This is Darko Miku. Thank you for watching. This is Darko Miku signing out. Bye.